So today we're going to be talking about threats to group effectiveness, and then we'll talk about ways to encourage everyone to participate to facilitate group effectiveness. But let's start out talking about threats. Specifically, we're going to be talking about 4 threats to group effectiveness: conformity, groupthink, group polarization, and obedience. And we'll begin by talking about conformity. Human beings are just naturally conformists, and it leads to these hilarious things where there's these countercultures that are against conformity, and they show this by all dressing differently in the same way. Teenagers do this too, right? Teenagers really like to show that they have an individual identity, and they do that by dressing and talking and listening to the same music as all their friends. But all of us are conformists, and it's a natural state of humanity to want to conform to the social standards of the larger group. This is a good thing. Conformity gets a really bad rap, especially in like American culture, which is very individualistic. But conformity is what allows our society to function, right? We've all decided on the same language that we're going to speak. We've all decided on which side of the road we're going to drive on. We've all decided on when and where to meet for class, right? Or for work. And we need those things in order to function as a society. We need a level of everyone just kind of going along in order for things to work well. Now, of course, conformity is bad. This is a real picture, by the way. Just enjoy looking at all the detail of this picture as we talk about this slide. Conformity can be a very bad thing too. We see this when groups of people behave in bad ways, ways that they wouldn't do as individuals. So like rioting would be an example of that. And so conformity helps our society function, and yet it can also be a threat, and conformity can lead to some really bad decision making. So we want to combat conformity in our group discussions, and one way of doing this is to have people commit to a position prior to discussion. So for example, in class, I often use the activity think, pair, share, where an individual will write down their opinion on their own, and then they'll talk about it with another student, and then we'll talk about it together as a class. One of the reasons I do that is because that ensures that every single person has thought about their own opinion, written it down, and committed to it before we discuss it as a class. And that way, instead of having 2 or 3 people dominate the conversation and introduce their perspectives and everyone else kind of agreeing with those perspectives, we have an individual perspective from each student in the class. So conformity is one of the main threats to effective groups. The next threat to effective group decision-making and group discussion is groupthink. Groupthink is when you care about getting along with people in the group more than you care about whatever task you're trying to accomplish. You value harmony over performance. And so before you share your opinion, before you challenge people, you don't think, okay, is this going to be best for whatever we're trying to accomplish? You think, how is everyone else in the group going to feel about this? And we tend to shy away from saying or doing things that we worry will anger or upset other people in the group. Now, again, this perspective gets criticized a lot, and yet when you think about it, it makes perfect sense, because in most organizations, relationships last longer than projects. So this project might succeed or fail, but regardless, I'm going to have to work with these people on future projects. We're going to have to work together again. And so it makes sense to prioritize my relationship with them over the success of any individual project. So the way we challenge groupthink is to focus on the 2 different types of conflict. And the first type of conflict that we can think about in groups is interpersonal conflict. Interpersonal conflict is I don't like you. And it is this personal attack where we attack people's motives or their thinking or their values, but we're attacking them as human beings. That type of conflict is not good for group discussion. That leads to acrimony, that leads to the group falling apart and not performing well. The other type of conflict is task conflict. And that's when we argue about the way that we're doing things or what we're doing, how we're prioritizing things. That type of conflict is good. It's good to challenge our assumptions, our ways of thinking, and we need these diverse opinions about what we're doing or how we're doing it. So task conflict is good. And what we want to do as group facilitators is encourage task conflict. Let's all argue about what we're doing and how we're doing it while avoiding and not allowing interpersonal conflict. So what this means in a simple way is to attack ideas, not people. And Anthony Scalia, who is a person I disagreed with on a lot of things, has this great quote about how we should attack ideas, not people, because some really good people have some really bad ideas. And so when we're in group discussions, we want to make sure to focus on attacking people's ideas, and attacking is the wrong word, but disagreeing with or challenging people's ideas and not attacking them as human beings, not attacking their character, not attacking their motivation, not attacking their values.